As promised, film buffs, here I am again. My second review today. Welcome to another episode of How I See It, coming at you from Team Sound Studios as always. And today's spoiler red band review, almost forgot to say that, will be of Like a Boss. Disclaimer, I didn't necessarily seek this movie out like it came out and I said I need to see it. But it was in the second run theater and I was with my date and we agreed that it might be a good movie to see. So I took her. And so the movie stars Tiffany Haddish, which I don't know her, but I'm sure she's probably been in a bunch of movies before that I haven't seen. Rose Byrne and Salma Hayek. Lisa Kudrow has a pretty funny cameo towards the end, which I'll get into. So Tiffany Haddish and Rose Byrne have a makeup company. It's a store, and they do okay for themselves, but they're kind of in debt. They're struggling, and Salma Hayek's company decides they want to pick them up because they have this new idea for a makeup kit. And they want to launch it, they want to sponsor it, they want to invest in the company. They want to take them out of debt and all this stuff. But of course, we learn pretty early that Salma Hayek, her motivations aren't pure. She wants to buy them out. She wants to basically take over their company so that they'll have nothing and it'll be her idea and all this stuff. So a lot of the movie is, first it's the two of them fighting, Rose Byrne and Tiffany Haddish, because Rose Byrne is kind of going along with Salma Hayek until she finds out at the end she was deceiving her all along. And then they make up, and then they come up with this other idea for another makeup kit that is going to take over, and another company wants to invest in them and all that stuff. So it leads to the showdown at an unveiling, a makeup conference, or whatever you want to call it. I don't know how these things work with makeup companies. What ends up happening is they come up with their idea and it's a hit, and Salma Hayek's company has to pay them to buy them out if she wants to buy them out, but she doesn't get any money unless she does, and all this stuff. So, of course, it's a feel-good ending where they're successful, and yeah, there isn't really a lot going on plot-wise. You just kind of have to go with the fact that it's a comedy, and it's more of a movie for the laughs. And the movie does have some pretty decent laughs. At the same time, it also has some unnecessary humor. I'll go into it a little bit. Like, there's this one scene with a cake where they make what looks like a baby's head coming out of a vagina, and there's blood dripping down on the cake. That's a little bit gross. And yes, I would say the same thing if it was a guy's movie and they showed a cake with, a cock and it was shooting sperm out. I would say the same thing. That's gross and unnecessary. I don't need to see that. I don't need to imagine that, okay? And there's this other scene where she slips her a hot pepper, and in the morning you see her on the bowl, on the toilet, and she's going, and I didn't need to see or imagine that either. And they talk too much about their hoochies, and they talk about dicks, and that's all fine, well, and good. I know that women probably do get together and talk about that kind of stuff, just like guys. We get together and we talk about chicks, and we talk about tits and ass and whatever. But but we don't need to see that in the movie. Just like if it was a guy's movie, I wouldn't need to see the guy talking about how tight her pussy was or whatever. It's like, okay. And I know that it's kind of like, the frat boy or the sorority girl kind of humor. And there's a market for that. The market is not me. I think it's a bit unnecessary, but I'm sure there were people probably laughing their ass off at that stuff. But moving on, Rose Byrne is in an unlikely role in this movie because I'm used to seeing her like either in a horror movie or in the X-Men movies, and she usually plays a little bit more serious, dramatic role. But she was decent in a comedy. And Salma Hayek, I mean, what can you say about Salma Hayek? I mean, she's eye candy. And her acting chops, okay, I've seen Salma Hayek in some other movies. And she does distinct herself in this movie from other roles that she's done. But is she very versatile as an actress? I wouldn't say very. I would say somewhat. But she does the job in this movie. The role was probably written for Salma Hayek, is what is the feeling that I got from watching the movie. And she plays like the evil corporate head trying to Stringham the company that she's buying out. She loses in the end, and she lets out a big fuck at the end, which is pretty funny. Lisa Kudrow is the other investor that buys the makeup company's new idea, and that's why she was pissed, because she let the competition bought her out of the idea. I think the movie was good, either if you're looking for a girls' night out, or if you're on a date, or something like that. I wouldn't recommend it like hanging with the guys. It's not like your typical Universal comedy. There's a certain market. It has its demographic, and the demographic is not as wide as you might think, because there is some humor in the movie that some will find funny and others won't. And it's not that I'm offended by the humor, I just think some of it is unnecessary. And I don't need to envision, or let's just say there are certain things that on a full stomach, it kind of might have the same effect that like a gross horror movie might. So that's pretty much where it is. The movie was enjoyable for what it was. I'm not going to go and, get the movie when it comes out on 4K or Blu-ray or whatever it is. But it was enjoyable to see with my date. She enjoyed it. So that's the important thing, right? And it was okay to me. I think overall, I'm going to give the movie a B-. That's how I see it. And yay, we are 2 for 4 now, halfway done. So stay tuned, coming at you in a bit. Never should stop back